What's going on, guys? It's Jeremy Hopper. What you see here on the table, I'm going to get to this thing in a moment, but this right here, this is pretty much the current gold standard in long-term preservation of dry food goods, and that is the use of Mylar bags. And inside of this Mylar bag, I have some green split peas, and you of course have to place an oxygen absorbing packet inside, and then you have to use an electric heat sealer. Some people buy expensive brands. I utilize a $10 clothing iron from Walmart, and you seal the top of this. These bags come in all different shapes and sizes, ranging just from very small to I don't know, about up to 6 gallons, I guess. Now, in trying to be self-sufficient in the long term, I was thinking to myself, what do I do if I no longer have Mylar bags available to me, because these are pretty much a one-time use and done type of a thing. What do I do if I no longer have oxygen absorbing packets coming through my front door anymore? Because again, those are one-time use items. And again, what do I do if I no longer have electricity available to me to operate a heat sealer to put the seal on here? The reasons for that, it can be widely varied. That's not really the point of this. The point of it is just for myself to become more self-sufficient in the long term. And I've kind of done a 5-year test on storing long-grain white rice and various types of beans under vacuum in a commonly available canning jar such as this. Now, this just happens to be elbow macaroni. I'm using it for a demonstration here. But 5 years ago, I did a basic test where I put those food items in these jars, pulled a vacuum on it, and put them in storage just in a Rubbermaid tote in a cool, dry place. It kept the light away from it. After 5 years under vacuum, being stored in a cool, dry place, it's perfectly fine. I pulled it out and it cooked up just like it did the very first day I would have put it into storage. Now the problem being is that when I pulled a vacuum on this, it utilized an electric vacuum pump, which is where this comes in. This is actually a vacuum pump that I made. I converted a common bicycle air pump to a vacuum pump. So I'm going to go into that and show you exactly how I converted this and show you how I seal up my my canning jars under vacuum utilizing this and one other component. So stand by. So the only major modification that I did to this, which really didn't cost me anything except 10 minutes of time, was to take this top assembly apart. On this particular air pump, there's just one screw holding this top piece on. I just pulled this out, and what you see here is a plastic disc at the end of a threaded rod, and all I did, I reversed it. So this used to be at the top, and this part here used to be at the bottom. So I just unscrewed it very carefully as to not damage this O-ring or the outside wall of this plastic disc. All I did is I just unscrewed it and reversed it. Now the problem being was that, actually there was a problem in that this hole through this disc did not extend all the way through. So I very carefully drilled out the opposing side, and I just drilled that hole just slightly undersized so the threaded portion of this rod would actually bite into that area and thread it for me to make just a very tight fit. So that's the only modification I did to this to make it into a vacuum pump internally, of course. So now I'm going to put this back in, and I'll show you the other changes that I made to this bicycle air pump. Alright, so this is just your standard the standard hose that came with this bicycle air pump, and I just kind of just kind of zip tied that hose all the way to the top. And this assembly up here is just a combination of 1/4-inch air fittings. So I went, if you can see it under here, and I'll put a description of the parts I used in the description box below this video. I went from a 1/4-inch, well actually I cut off the fitting that goes to the bicycle, the little device that just kind of locks onto the valve stem. When I replaced that with a 1/4-inch barbed brass fitting and just shoved that down into this hose. From there, at the opposing end of the of that barbed fitting, there was a 1/4-inch male pipe fitting. So from there, it just went into a brass T. From that brass T, you can see I have a 90 right here, and that goes up to a vacuum gauge. And on the other side, I just went from a 1/4 inch pipe fitting, a 90 fitting, up to a compression fitting. And that entire assembly was just attached using this clamp, just to give it a real, sturdy support. I mean, it's not going anywhere. I'm going to zoom out and just show you the second component to this. And this is just a commonly available device. You can pick these up off of Amazon, and this happens to be just a food grade canning jar sealer. This is actually designed to pull a vacuum on a canning jar, and they come in the standard wide mouth. This is just the standard size jar fitting, and this happens to be the wide mouth version that I've just currently modified. And all I did is I put a 1/4 inch outer diameter hose through here. I think this was a polyvinyl hose, and I just have a couple feet of hose going to a compression fitting on here, which then screws into here. Alright. So I'll probably have to shoot this video a couple times to show how this vacuum sealing system works. But again, I'm going to take my standard canning jar. This has not been sealed. So the way that works is just take this guy here, push it down on top. Now all I have to do is just actuate that hand pump about 4 times to get the necessary vacuum that I need. So I'm going to show you that right now. Alright guys, because I had to move the camera around and kind of edit out a certain area, I'm just going to show you again that, just so no one calls shenanigans on me here, that you can see this is not sealed. Just going to put that cap on, and I'll shoot another segment where I show you actually utilizing the hand pump. So I'm just going to pull a vacuum on this. That was it. Let's take our cap off and see. And you can see it's now under vacuum. Pretty simple stuff. What do you think? I think that's pretty simple. And to release the vacuum, and this is a key component of this, one reason why I really like it, it's the fact that unlike a Mylar bag, this glass jar is reusable as long as you don't break it. These lids are reusable, again, as long as you don't bend them. And again, that's just for vacuum sealing purposes. I've actually, in my testing of this pump, I've actually sealed this jar, or sealed this lid about 20 times, so I can know it to stand up to at least 20 times of use. So to open this up, I'm going to place an object in here and just run it along the threads to pop that cap off, in which case I'm utilizing the spine of my knife. There we go. Pretty simple. So I'm going to do this again and actually show the hand pump in operation. So I'm going to put this back on, and I'll get back with you. Alright guys, this is pretty much an eagle-eye view of what I'm seeing. I am wearing kind of dark colored pants. The pump is dark, so I don't know how well you can see it, but I just wanted to zoom in real fast and show you this vacuum gauge. And Food Saver brand vacuum sealers will pull a vacuum of at least 20 inches of mercury or better, which would fall right here, in case you can't see the dial gauge. So that's pretty much my gold standard of trying to pull a vacuum, is I try to meet that meet this limit of 20 inches of mercury or better. So I'm just going to zoom out real quick, and this usually takes about 4 pumps or so, and I'll shoot another segment showing what this looks like from the front. So what is that, maybe 4? And you can see, again, that seals. So I'm just going to break that seal. There we go. That's simple. Alright guys, because I'm wearing dark colored pants, I'm going to sit to the side of this pump, just because you may not be able to see it otherwise. Again. There we go. I actually hit 25 inches of mercury for a vacuum. Not going anywhere. So from there, I'm just going to take my canning ring canning jar ring. Put that on just to make sure that that lid doesn't get knocked off or anything or whatever. And that's it. I mean, that's ready for storage. With that said, I just want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll be back.